Life-Changing, an LSD trip report by Totus Mundus, uploaded to airwood.org, April 18th, 2026. Life-changing experience. This experience occurred my first year in college in the dorm. I had talked to a graduate student there in an area I was studying, music, and he supplied me with laboratory-grade LSD. He described that the experience would be intense. I took it with my boyfriend. The experience was indeed very intense. It started slowly and then became more visual. And we went to the music school, and as I played piano, tiles on the floor were moving and sliding. We then went to my boyfriend's dorm, where we listened to music from the radio. We were at his dorm room, listening to music coming out of the radio, and I could see the music coming out of the radio and the varied notes and colors, a type of synesthesia. Then my boyfriend said, "I can hear it as if it happened yesterday." I almost forgot I was tripping. Did you forget you were tripping? At that point, I began to say, "No." And then the experience literally duplicated. It is difficult to describe, except it was like on a tape and the tape had repeated. The words he said and the event of him saying it literally happened again. At that point, this incredible feeling came over me. I realized that this reality was a dream, unreal. Then I got up quickly and went to the door to leave because I was just overwhelmed by this experience. But when my hand reached the door, this energy went all the way up my spine and exploded in my head. I don't know how else to describe it. At that point, I felt like I was in some sort of higher state of consciousness. I was no longer actually connected to everyday experience. I came back and sat down, but was definitely in something I could not describe to him. Actually, at this point was when the radio emitted the colorful notes. I went outside and sat down looking at one of the dorms. The wind blew by, as if time was going fast. Dorm building was sinking into the ground and the grass was drying up and being swallowed in tufts by the earth. It looked like everything was dying and changing. It wasn't frightening except the immensity and transient nature of reality. I was having a lot of difficulty coming out of this experience, and in the evening, I told my boyfriend I could not come down. I looked for myself. I could not find myself inside. Again, difficult to describe, but every time I reflected on myself and my thoughts, I found nothing there except a hall of mirrors, like an infinite regression. I realized there was no me. That evening, I could not tell if what I was thinking I was actually doing. I thought of running down the dorm hall naked. Was I actually doing that or not? I thought I was going crazy, really. I told my boyfriend that I was not coming down. He told me to do sit-ups. Obviously, that did not work. My roommate and her boyfriend were there, and I could see halos around their heads as they talked and interacted, which was lovely. I really did not talk about this at all, but I remember it to this day. The next day, we went back to that cafeteria for breakfast, and the people there sounded like dolphins. Literally, I don't think I ate. Boyfriend took me to a place on campus that was designed to help people with my sort of difficulties as related to my drug trip. Fortunately, and I do mean very fortunately, they were very laid back and said I just needed a rest and get the drugs out of my system. And I did. They did not send me to a psych ward because that would have just done me in. I was able to sleep a little and regain some sense of my former reality. I had panic attacks for several years after, and initially, that first year, had alterations in perception, such as picking up something heavy and feeling like it was light as a feather, or going up an 8-story building, the campus library, and feeling on that floor the change in altitude. I changed as a person from this. I looked back and reflected on these experiences and how radically altered my reality was. I later researched and read Eastern texts and meditation. I felt I had some sort of kundalini, The energy that raced through my spine and exploded in my head chakra really fits the description and the reality of Maya. Of course, I was only 19, and I had no idea of any of these things, and literally just wanted to return back to my former way of thinking about the world. It was helpful to know that Eastern mysticism helped to give me a framework so that I did not feel crazy. I changed my major in college because I had to find out what the hell all of this was about. I studied psychology, philosophy, religion. So this experience was good because it changed me, and negative because I was so unprepared for it. It changed my entire life direction. I just wish I would have had someone to help me through it. I had to go through a lot to find those texts, to find them on my own, really. I could not say that the experience was like nirvana, however, from the Eastern view. Because it was drug-induced, it came upon a mind that was thoroughly naive and unable to put it together. I would never recommend this to anyone because of the potency of it. But I do have kind of an understanding how Krishnamurti Vedantic philosophy, e.g., approached the world. How Buddhism can be very real to those who seriously follow it. But to do psychedelics to get there? Absolutely not. This is not the appropriate way to get there. And that was not even something I planned or even knew about. But 50 years later, here I am, educated, able to manage in the Western world, but aside, resonating with Eastern forms of knowing. Thanks for allowing me to share. Reported dose. Usual dose. Experience year. 1973. So there are a few things that I want to say about this trip report. One, I want to say that this one was well written for this having come out this year. This was published quite literally like 2 weeks ago. But it happened in 1973. This woman experienced this, which is crazy. And so I think that that's quite interesting. I do want to say, I wish that we could see what the dose was. I wish she had included more about the dosing. It doesn't seem like they did too high of a dose, but probably up there. Which I think is interesting. Now, the main points that I wanted to kind of emphasize from this was from what she said towards the end about how this experience changed her as a person and how these experiences will change you as a person as you have them. She had this experience at the age of 19, and in retrospect, she can see that it did change so much, even if it was not exactly pleasant in the moment. Like, she said that she kind of wanted to go back to her original way of thinking, like post-trip, and I can definitely sympathize with that. I've been there. I think most psychonauts have probably been there once or twice. And looking into things like spirituality, like mysticism, and a lot of the Eastern stuff absolutely does help and can help. And so I thought that was really cool that she included this and included that, where is it? It says in retrospect, the trip was good because it changed her, but bad because she was underprepared, which, hey man, if I could hammer out any point, I would say, be prepared for these experiences as much as possible. Please do as much research as you can before taking the stuff. I mean, nothing's going to be as good as like actually doing it in terms of finding out. Like, there is no comparable way, but always start low, go slow, all of that, which this person unfortunately did not do, though it worked out for the better. And so I think that this is a great example of how even uncomfortable or quote unquote bad trips, even though they're not good, they're oftentimes the most transformative, some of the best experiences that you can have. some of the most life-changing experiences are the terrifying ones, are the uncomfortable ones, because they're forcing you to work through something. And I think that's amazing. That's amazing. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I do really like this trip report. I think that it's really cool having this perspective, like having her perspective of writing it so long after it happened. I think that's quite interesting, being able to see how that impacted her long term, like truly, like across all decades and decades, just one experience. I think that's really cool. But other than that, if you're listening to me ramble, I appreciate it. If you made it to the end of this video, or any of these videos, then that's an honor, honestly. So thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.